We now go on to the Penal Code offense of cheating. Now, cheating is found under section 415 of the Penal Code, right? 415 of the Penal Code. There's no offense of fraud, but we have the offense of cheating. And you will see that there are two ways of how cheating can be committed. It can be committed under section 415A or section 415B. Okay, we're going to go into details into the. We're going to look at it in closer. We're going to look at it closer, right? 415, going through all the elements of the offenses for the offense of cheating. But the first thing that you will notice here is that the offense of cheating is very similar to the old law in the UK, right? The deception offenses, because here you see that the victim must be deceived, or at least somebody must be deceived, right? So whoever by deceiving any person, and then section 415A induces the person so deceived to deliver, or B intentionally induces the person so deceived. So there must be somebody who has been deceived, right? Who has been deceived, and it is not a conduct crime, it is a result crime. So it is very much like the old law in the UK. So therefore, we will probably face the same problems as the old law in the UK faced. But let's go through, right? Let's go through first 415. So you see that the deception is a key element. You need to show that somebody was deceived, that the victim was deceived. And here are some examples of deception. In the case of Lo Cheng Sui, this was a case where the accused bought two different insurance for his car, and then he claimed from both insurance. Okay, so that was wrong. He basically deceived them because he was not supposed to have claimed from two different insurance. So this is unjustly enriching himself. In the case of Chi Ki Nan, this was a case where the accused bought rice, right? He bought rice and he paid with check. But subsequently, this check bounced, which means that when the victim took the check to the when the victim took the check to the bank to cash it, they found that there wasn't sufficient money in the accused's account, right? So the victim was deceived when he accepted the check as payment. Right, explanation 1 to 415 provides that a dishonest concealment is a deception within the meaning of this section. Okay, so it doesn't have to be an express thing, express representation, but even a concealment of facts, a dishonest concealment of facts is deception, is a deception, and it doesn't have to be something that he is under a duty to reveal. Okay, so a dishonest concealment of facts is a deception. And explanation 3 provides that whoever makes any representation through somebody else, right, it will be considered as if he has made the representation himself, right? He cannot say that I didn't say it, my friend said it, but then, right, basically he actually told his friend to say it on his behalf. So therefore, the law considers that he is the one who said it and not the friend who said it on his behalf. Right, so 415A, right, the first way of how cheating is committed is where a person is deceived, right, and the accused fraudulently or dishonestly induces that person who has been deceived to either deliver any property to anybody, right, or consents that any person shall retain any property, right, consents that any person shall retain any property. So if you like took something from a shop, and you didn't pay for it, the security guard stops you and says that, look, you got to give us back that property that you took, and then you deceive the security guard by saying, oh, I actually paid for it already, and the guard says that, okay, then you can keep that property, right? So in that case, you have cheated, you will have committed cheating, right? So it's either you deliver any property to any person, right, cause the person who's been deceived to deliver any property, or cause the person so deceived to consent that any person should retain any property. So you see there's element of dishonesty and there's fraudulently. We have seen earlier on dishonestly is found under section 24, where basically a person is considered to have done something dishonestly if he did so with the intention to cause a wrongful gain, or wrongful loss. And wrongful gain and wrongful loss are defined under Section 23. So all this you can look in your notes for theft, right, where it talks about dishonestly. As for fraudulently, we look at Section 25, and Section 25 provides that a person is said to do a thing fraudulently if he does it with the intention to defraud. Right? He's said to have acted fraudulently if he has the intention to defraud. Not very helpful, but if you look at the case of Sid Sun Guan, this was a case where the accused in the disciplinary proceedings, he was a police officer, he used a police diary, right? He used a police diary, but actually it was a false document, right? It was a false document. So, yeah, he was said to be acting fraudulently. And Sid Sun Guan, the court held that a person acts fraudulently or with intent to defraud. How? If he acts with the intention that some person will be deceived. So he act that somebody will be deceived, and by means of that deception, either an advantage should accrue to him or an injury, loss, or detriment should befall some other persons. Okay, so that's basically what is acting fraudulently means. You act with the intention that somebody will be deceived so that you get some advantage or that somebody will suffer some detriment. So if you look at illustration A, right, for 415, and you see the illustrations are very helpful to help us understand these provisions. A, by falsely pretending to be in the government service, right, maybe he was a secret agent, intentionally deceives Z and thus dishonestly induces Z to let him have on credit goods for which he does not mean to pay. Right? So Z has been deceived and Z let him have goods. Let him basically deliver some goods to him which A doesn't mean to pay. So A would have committed cheating. Right? Yeah, Pierce Brosnan is my favorite James Bond. Yeah, I know people like Sean Connery and all, but Pierce Brosnan. But let's localize it, right? This is a British spy. Malaysian spy would probably look something like this, right? Okay, explanation 2, right? Just now we talked about explanation 1, explanation 3. Some of you may be asking, but what about explanation 2? The explanation 2 provides that a breach of contract is not proof of fraudulent intent, right? Breach of contract on its own, right? Just because a person breaches his contract doesn't mean that he intended to defraud, right? Doesn't mean there's intention to defraud. He could very well be really unable to fulfill his part of the contract, not that he was trying to defraud anybody. And we can see this in illustration G, right? Where A intentionally deceives Z to believe that A means to deliver to him certain quantity of pepper, but A doesn't intend to deliver, right? So enter into a contract and Z advance money for such delivery. So A is considered to have cheated. He has breached his contract with Z. He clearly has cheated because he never had any intention to fulfill this part of the contract, right? He never had any intention to fulfill this part of his contract at all. But the illustration goes on to say that if at the time when he obtained the money, he actually intended to fulfill his contract, but subsequently, for some reason, he could not, or he did not in the end, right? And he doesn't deliver. Then in such a situation, he does not cheat because at the time of obtaining the money, he had the intention to deliver the property, right? So there is no cheating in that case. Now 415A also talks about right, dishonestly, right? And Tan Ping An, very quite interesting, right? Because it says that whoever by the same person dishonestly induces a person to deliver any property, right? He will have committed cheating. However, Tan Ping An held that not all dishonest acts which induces someone to deliver property can amount to cheating, right? So there are some situations which the drafters of the Penal Code did not catch when they were drafting it. In Tan Ping An, this was a case where this person claimed that he had connections. You know, he had connections with some people in the authority, and he could basically pull some strings, and he could help the victim to influence the authorities, right? To influence the authorities because he knows them. So maybe just like somebody comes up to me and said, "Hey, you're a lecturer in Taylor's, right? Uh, why don't you try to why don't you try to pull some strings and get my son to join the law program, even though he doesn't meet the entry requirements?" Okay, and they're willing to pay me money for it. So that's the situation in Tan Ping An, basically, where he claimed that he had connections with the authorities and he accepted money so that he would go and influence the authorities. Now, clearly, that was something which was dishonest, and it actually induced somebody to deliver money to him. But that wasn't cheating because he actually did go and try to influence the people in authority. So it wasn't cheating. So therefore, not all dishonest acts which induces somebody to deliver property to anybody can amount to cheating. And Tan Ping An is an example for that. Take time to read the case uh, if you can't understand it at this point of time. Now in Fu Tianguang, it was also held that but Fu Tianguang, first the facts of the case. In this case, he said that he could get blood, right? So they were looking for blood, uh, and he said that he could actually get blood for payment, right? You actually get blood for payment, and that's what the victims did. They paid him money, and he got blood for them, right? He got blood for them. So probably somebody needed some blood transfusion, so he managed to get blood for them, and he got paid for it. Now they charged him for cheating, and the court held that there was no cheating committed, right? There was no cheating committed because his act of getting blood for money was not ethical, but it could not be right. It was not ethical. However, you could not say that it was dishonest. Can you say that it was dishonest? And in any event, the victims did get their blood after paying the money, right? They did get the blood at the end of the day, so it did not amount to cheating. So these are two exceptional cases, right? Tan Ping An and Fu Tiang Guang. Now we move on to 415B. This is the second method of how cheating can be committed, where basically by deceiving any person, the accused induces that person who has been deceived to do something that he would not do if he was not deceived, or to omit to do something that he would not omit to do if he was not deceived, right? So he will do something that he would not have done if he wasn't deceived, or he would not have done something, right? He will omit to do something that he would not have omitted to do if he was not so deceived. And this act of omission is likely to cause damage or harm to anybody in body, mind, reputation, or property, right? Damage or harm in body, in mind, in reputation, or in property. So this is the second way of how cheating can be committed. And we look at illustration B. A puts a counterfeit mark on an article, and therefore Z believes that this was this was made by a certain celebrated manufacturer. So you see that they put a Nike logo on the T-shirt, right? And somehow these days you'll see that they have all these authentic logos or authentic stickers on jerseys and T-shirts. So people can be deceived into thinking that, wow, this is an original uh, shirt, right, or original jersey, and therefore induces Zack to buy and pay for it. So therefore, A has cheated Zack, right? So the act of A causes B, sorry, the act of A causes Zack to do something that he would not have done, right? He would not have done if he didn't put the logo on it. He probably would not have paid so much money for that jersey. So that act actually caused him to pay more money, and therefore cause him damage or harm to his property. Now illustration C, here A, by exhibiting to Z a false sample of an article, deceives Z into believing that it corresponds with the sample, and therefore induces Z to buy and pay for the article. Now this is like real life situation. I remember when I went to Cameron Highlands, with my wife, and we stopped by one of those orange stalls. So they obviously knew that we were not locals. They always knew that we were tourists. We were from out of town, right? So I wanted to buy oranges, and they gave us some samples, right? They gave us some sample, and the oranges were absolutely delicious. It was sweet and it was juicy, right? And so we bought the oranges, and when we went back home, none of the oranges tasted sweet. None of the oranges were juicy. Okay, so that's the clearly the illustration here. Illustration Z. They gave us a false sample of the article, and they deceived me to think that well, all the oranges that they have there will be just as juicy and sweet as the sample that they have given me, right? So those people, yes, those orange sellers in Cameron Islands, they have committed cheating. They have cheated me. Terrible people. Okay, illustration E. A, by pledging as diamonds articles which he knows are not diamonds, intentionally deceives Z, and thereby dishonestly induces Z to lend money. So it causes Z to do something that he would not have done if he have not so deceived. Illustration F, sorry. A intentionally deceives Z into belief that A means to repay any money that Z may lend to him, right? So he says that I will pay you back, okay? But he was just deceiving him. He had no intention to pay back. So therefore, by saying that he will pay back, by assuring him that he will pay back, it induces Z to do something that he would not have done if not for those assurances. So A has cheated Z. Right? Illustration H. A intentionally deceives Z into a belief that A has performed A's part of the contract made with Z, which he has not performed, and thereby induces Z to pay the money. So he says that look, the agreement is that if I clear your drains, right? If I clean up your garden, right? If I throw your rubbish, then you will pay me the money. And here, I go to Z and I say that, oh, I've already done that already, when I have not done that. Okay, but I deceive Z into thinking that I've already done it, and it caused Z to pay me the money, right? To pay the money. So you see, Z was induced to do something which he would not have done if he was not so deceived. He got tricked and he got cheated. And illustration J, right? Here when A was playing with false dice or marked cards and he wins money from B, so A has clearly cheated. All right, so that's section 415, right? Cheating. Either 415A, fraudulently or dishonestly induces the person to deliver any property or to consent that any person should retain any property, or B, you induces the person so deceived to omit to do anything that he would not have done, or uh, to do something which he would not have done if not for the deception. And this act or this omission is likely to cause damage, harm to anybody in body, mind, reputation, or property. So that's cheating under 415. Now for 416 is cheating by personation or cheating by impersonating somebody else. So this is where a person pretends to be somebody else or knowingly substitute one person for another, or basically represents that he or any other person is a person other than he or such other person really is, right? He would have committed cheating by personation if he cheats by doing that, by pretending to be some other person. Okay, the offense is committed whether the individual impersonated is real or you can impersonate an imaginary person also. Now, the case of Balbu Khan, this is an Indian case where the person deceived the victim into believing that he was an eye specialist, right? Into an eye specialist, and he caused the victim to actually allow him to carry out a surgery on his son. Now, unfortunately, in this case, the son was the one who suffered the damage. Right? The son was the one who suffered the damage. Okay, uh, and under the Indian law at that time, 1961, the it was not an offense if the damage was not suffered by the victim himself. However, if you look at Section 415 now, it has been amended to provide that damage or harm to any person, right? Damage or harm to any person in body, mind, reputation, or property. So it doesn't matter if the damage or harm was suffered by somebody else, it will still amount to cheating. And the punishments are found under Section 417 and 419. Again, as I always mention, punishments are not important. You need not mention it in your exams or your exam answers. 418 is cheating with the knowledge that is likely to cause wrongful loss to the person whose interest in the transaction to which his cheating relates, where he was bound by law or legal contract to protect. So this is basically when he's holding a fiduciary duty, right, to protect the, the interests of that particular person, right? So that will be an offense also under the Penal Code 418. And 420 is basically cheating and dishonestly inducing delivery of property, right? So if we look at the elements there, cheats, dishonest. So whoever cheats, so you must show Section 415, and dishonestly induces the person deceived to deliver any property to any person, or to make, alter, or destroy the whole or any part of a valuable security or anything which is signed or sealed, which is capable of being converted into a valuable security, shall have committed an offense and shall be punished. Okay, so not just cheating, but this cheating where the person was made to deliver any property to any person. Okay, under 420, right? Um, Now, the case of Wong Kim Ling, he was found guilty for section under section 420, right? And this was a case where he cheated the cashier. He was shopping, right? And he bought some things and he cheated the cashier by using a fake credit card. Okay, he cheated the cashier by giving a fake credit card, and therefore he is said to have cheated him because he actually allowed him to take the property away. Now the problem these days is that these cashiers may soon be out of the picture. They could be replaced by self checkout counters. You'll see this in Tesco. Tesco has it. But even when I was a student, and this was really long ago, right? We have a lot of self checkout counters in the UK already. However, it doesn't seem to be picking up here in Malaysia though. But once a situation like this comes into play, and somebody use a fake credit card, can he be said to have committed cheating? Probably not, right? Because no one was deceived, right? No one was deceived, arguably. Okay, and also even if he uses the credit card to and give it to a cashier, the question then is that was the cashier deceived or not? To him, he may not even think twice about it. Give me the card and I just tap it, right? I do not. To me, I do not believe whether whether it was real or it was fake. Okay, so there could be a problem there, like how the law in the UK was in the past before they changed it to the fraud offences. Okay, so that's cheating under 415 of the Penal Code. All right, pretty straightforward. You just need to refer to 415 and the elements are all there, and you have to just see whether are all the elements satisfied or not. For attendance this week, here is the Kahoot pin. Please participate in the quiz, which will be up until Friday 11 p.m. Right? Participation in the quiz will ensure that you will be marked as present for the lectures this week. Now we have covered quite a bit, quite a few topics this week. The quiz will only be on cheating and criminal damage, right? But after this, there is actually another short lecture on participation. The first lecture on participation, which is only for around 10 minutes. So don't forget to watch that also. Okay. Next week, we'll be starting on the topic of participation, which is quite wide, and we want to cover it as much as possible. So we are starting a bit earlier. The first part is just 10 minutes only. So, yeah, there's just one more lecture to watch after this.